Welcome to the Weather Guru podcast for September 26, 2024. All eyes are on major Hurricane Helene as it makes its beeline approach now toward the Florida Panhandle here, the Big Bend region of the Florida Panhandle. As of the latest 5 p.m. update, winds are at 125 mile an hour. That makes it firmly in the Cat 3 category of the Saffir-Simpson scale. It's moving very fast northeast at 21 miles an hour. This accelerated motion is expected to continue. This is our landfall within the next 7 hours, possibly by 11 p.m. tonight or midnight. It's to be passing just to the east of Tallahassee, the capital city of Florida, probably west of the Osceola River, somewhere in Jefferson County or Madison County. They'll be feeling east of Tallahassee, be feeling the worst of this. The eye looks a little bit better, well defined, as it's wrapping more around those colder cloud tops there. Still kind of ragged, not that classic symmetrical donut shape that we like to see with major mature hurricanes. However, it's still rapidly intensifying right now, and it still has a window of intensification period in the next 12 hours before possibly it goes to an ERC, or IRAW replacement cycle, just before a landfall that can knock it back down. So you don't be surprised if you may see it strengthen to a Category 4. Category 4 starts at winds about 129, 130 miles an hour. And then it'll weaken again back down to a Category 3 just before landfall, probably around 11 p.m. tonight. Now, the landfall point is, like I said, it's somewhere east of Apalachicola, and all the way could extend all the way down to probably where the other storm hit at, where Debbie hit at, towards the Perry, Taylor County area. I think people are thinking around that area, Southern County, Horseshoe Beach, Perry, somewhere around there. Or it could be up towards Carabel or something like that. So we'll see once it comes in here. It's almost moving due north here. That's what we like going on the satellite here. Also, I want to show you the radar loop there. You can see the rain showers, heavy banding coming here in the Panhandle here west of Tallahassee. This will only fill in as we get later on past sunset. So around 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, that's when the rain is really going to pick up here from Tallahassee westward and some of the eastern counties as well. Jefferson, Madison County, Taylor County, Live Oak, Suwannee County, the Suwannee River Valley, back towards Gainesville and all that. That's when it's going to fill in there, and that's when the winds are going to be sticking out. The Saharan dust layer is not a factor with this storm. We've already through Isaac now. And Joyce is the next name. Joyce is on his way here, so we'll be getting that name storm coming in probably sometime by next week, Monday. And then Kirk will be the next name after that. Now, looking here, as I show you just a riding view here, you can see Isaac out here. That's a fish storm, a couple hundred miles northeast of Bermuda. This will be moving out toward the Azores as a fish storm, no big deal. And then we have this storm here is a 90% chance of development. Just came off the Cape Verde, Africa here. This is going to be our next storm named Joyce here. And they'll probably go ahead and name that probably sometime, like I said, if not tomorrow, then probably on Saturday. This will be our next named storm here, Joyce. So Helene is the main focus right now. This is going to bring heavy rain, heavy flooding here. National Hurricane Center, like I said, once again, pressure's down to 951 millibars. And that's because it's such a large system here. And so the winds are not as strong. If you think a 951 millibar storm, the winds would be above 140, but because the system is so large, 345 miles of tropical storm force winds extending, and then you got 60 miles of hurricane force winds extending out. The speed is actually accelerated again. It's northwest at 23 miles an hour. This is good and bad. This is good that the hurricane force winds that won't be over the Florida Panhandle and Georgia for for a long time, but it's bad in the sense that it also increases the wind speed on land. So you can have over 110, 115 mile an hour gusts, even though sustained winds only around 65 to 70 miles an hour in a lot of these locations once imminent landfall does occur. And so that's what we have here. Another thing that people don't talk about with this system, and I'm going to show you the cone here, is that we're going to have a situation where, remember a lot of these counties here in northern Georgia and in Tennessee and up into the western Ohio Valley were in drought conditions. That's no longer the case. So all this rain is going to fall, cause a lot of falling trees, power outages, and it's also going to cause a lot of it's going to cause a lot of as the system weakens, and cause a lot of tornadoes, especially on the eastern side here. So if you're in eastern Georgia, southeastern Georgia, later on tonight, from midnight to about 3 to 4 a.m., I watch out for tornadoes. This is specifically speaking those who are north of I-16 and east of I-75, okay, in Georgia and South Carolina, upstate, and east of the Piedmont of North Carolina. So out here in Raleigh-Durham and Benson and Knightdale and all that, and up 95, Lumberton, this is the area where the tornadoes could be definitely coming in here as it pulls more Gulf moisture and makes landfall. That's going to be a significant threat with this system as well. Once again, you can see the tropical storm force winds in the yellow here, blanketing the entire peninsula here and up into the Panhandle already. Now, this is not consistent tropical storm force winds. In other words, it's when the bands come across, that's when the tropical storm force gusts are eligible to be likely to to be felt. Now, the hurricane force winds, as you can see here, extends about 60 miles into the field here. But another thing to take note of too is dry air is in training in this system, and that's why the system is slowly intensifying and not rapidly intensifying. On the western side, you see how the wind field is lopsided over here like this? It's because there's dry air over here in the western Gulf of Mexico, and that is allowing the system to not as rapidly intensify. And you can see it on the side of the image. See, the dry air is cutting off this western part banding here of the system. Otherwise, it'd be much larger than what it is here now, even though it's pretty large now, I'm saying. So the dry western air is being a blessing here for the western panhandle as well as the people on the west side of the system. So there's a sharp gradient, much like what Debbie had. Debbie had all of the east side. Most of these systems that have come into this shallow continental shelf here have been east side convection loaded, east side loaded as it come in here. And this is exactly what we're seeing with Helene here. Same thing. We have this east side loaded system here with a ragged eye. Central dense overcast is present in the eye. And it's just, one of those things. It's just weird because normally you have a fully symmetrical mature hurricane, especially if it's going to be a Cat 4 or a Cat 3 or Cat 4, and on all quadrants. And you normally have something coming in where it's like that, but this is coming in at an angle. And so since it's coming at that angle perpendicular, the highest storm surge may actually be over here, depending on where it makes landfall. It's actually to the right of the center, to the right and east of the center. So the highest storm surge could be anywhere over here, 10 to 12 feet, 10 to 14 feet. It may come down a bit, depending on how the system gets moving so fast. I think they'll adjust the numbers down just a little bit on the surge, but you're still looking at 10 to 12 feet of surge. Anywhere from Keaton Beach probably over towards Mayo, Dixie, Levy counties, over here towards Homosassa. I get maybe it could be possibly right there towards home, anywhere from Crystal River, Homosassa back toward Keaton Beach, and Steinhatchee possibly. That's where you get the highest surge, anywhere from on the order of 10 to possibly 13 feet at the max, just because the system is coming in way faster than anticipated, and it actually may make a landfall. If it's going at this speed, it may make a landfall before 11 a.m., maybe somewhere between 10:30 at night, 11 p.m., 10:30 p.m. or 11:30 p.m., somewhere between there. It should be just about making a landfall because it's picking up speed here, guys. And so that's what we have here. Now, the worst side of this quadrant is on the northeast quadrant, obviously, because it's spinning fast. So that's going to put it right in line with Madison, Suwannee County. Okay, so anybody in Live Oak, Perry, Live Oak, over towards I-10, I-75 Junction, Lake City, into Fargo, Georgia, and then it continues Valdosta, Lake Park, places like that. You're going to be experiencing more higher winds, hurricane force winds sustained, at least initially, until it breaks down. Okay, if you're west of I-10 on Tallahassee, if you're Tallahassee, let's say Tallahassee, Monticello, places like that, Bainbridge, Blakely, Georgia, toward Mariana, you're going to be in sustained tropical storm force winds with some hurricane force gusts. I may occasionally get over 75, 80 mile an hour gusts, but you're on the western side. You would be on the western side. The weaker side would still be, and it'd be actually better for you. Now, power outages are likely to occur along all of these areas along I-10. Okay. Now, if you're over in Pensacola and all that, you're out of it. You may get a few little occasional showers right now that may be trickling out right now, but you're out of the tropical storm force winds, and you're certainly out of the hurricane force winds, Destin, all of that. Okay. If you're in Panama City, you can experience a little bit of that, but nothing too crazy. Same Apalachicola, you will get more of that because you can be on the western fringe of that western flank of that eye wall, 10 plus or minus 10 or 20, 30 miles. Okay, so you'll be experiencing some things out of that too as well. But the bottom line is that's going to be the main thing. Is power outages with falling trees. Even the rainfall totals are not going to be that heavy in the Panhandle because this thing is moving very fast. So right now the rainfall potential, you're looking at they have lowered it, so you're looking at 2 to 4 inches. Tallahassee maybe getting closer to that 5 or 6 inch maximum, but really the mountains of western North Carolina is where they're projecting a lot of this rain to come into play because of the orographic lifting. That rain is pushing up against the western slopes of the Appalachians, the Blue Ridge, the Great Smokies, some of those chains in upstate South Carolina along the Scenic Parkway, the Foothills Scenic Parkway there, places like that in the highest of elevations, like Grandfather Mountain, Boone, down towards 26 coming towards back towards Asheville. That's where you're going to get into a maximum of a foot of rain. But by then the system is moving so fast that, like I said, once again, even in the mountains, you're only going to get between 6 to 12 inches because, that's just a lot because of the orographic lifting is going to run down and create mudslides and all of that. But it may not be as bad because the rivers may be able to drain, the watershed may be able to drain faster than we think it could because the system is moving fast and because of the angle of approach. I think if the system had come in like across Atlanta and kept northeast like it was parallel in 85, I think that would have been a more, and moving slowly, that would have been a more disastrous scenario. Since this system is coming up and parallel into the west of I-75 and coming in like that, that's actually a better scenario, because once it's done pulling the Gulf moisture up like that, it stops, it cuts off, and actually the rain creates a rain shield, so you have more rain for those places from Asheville east, like from Asheville to Hickory and Black Mountain per se, right? Okay, that's where the maximum rain's gonna occur. But if you're west of Asheville, let's say you're in Canton, or you're heading towards the Great Smoky Mountains Expressway, let's say like Franklin, Saluda, or coming up towards any of these counties over here in Tennessee, you're on the western side of that, in Johnson City or in these Knoxville or these places like that, you're not going to get a whole lot of rain because you're on that rain shadow, so to speak, with orographic lifting, and that's why they have less rain for those places over there. So overall, even the rain forecast is not as bad. This is not a Hurricane Harvey where you're getting 30, 40 inches, because it's moving so fast that I think these rain totals are going to be kept down. So once again, for Tallahassee eastward, and that's only two counties here, because basically from Tallahassee eastward on I-10, you have Jefferson County, Madison County, and then you go into Suwannee County. And so from those counties over, you're looking at maybe 2 to 4 inches maximum, because it's moving so fast. So that's actually great news. The soils there can handle that, because Tallahassee has some hills, and those soils in the red clay. So those soils, and even southern Georgia, they're very hilly, even though it's below the fall line, below Macon and all that. Still, they can handle that. They can absorb that. They can take 2 to 4 inches of rain. Even Atlanta can take it. So this yellow 4 to 6 inches, they can handle that. The watershed, Chattahoochee River, and all that will be fine. But the most important thing to remember is that if you're in the mountainous areas here, upstate South Carolina, Travelers Rest, Hendersonville, Asheville, Brevard, along the Blue Ridge Parkway here, and the highest of elevations, you could see a foot of rain. So. And nothing to be scared about, but just be prepared, because that can lead to elevated flash flooding and some road closures up there, and some roads being washed out up there. Some of the local roads, to say, some of the North Carolina state roads up there in the mountains, you guys know about those and all that. They could be washed out at a time. So that's what we have as far as the rain forecast there. But back to the structure of the system here. Once again, it did kind of intensify, but I don't think it met the criteria for rapid intensification, okay? Because he went from 85, 90 miles an hour, then up to 125 miles an hour, but it wasn't quite over a 24-hour period. So it's intensifying, but not rapidly intensifying. And the reason for that is, like, again, we have dry air coming on the western side of this system, eroding the western side of this system. And also, for another reason, with Helene, while it didn't strengthen as much, is because it's just a bigger system, and it took time for that eye to develop. And once the eye developed here, there's a chance that, like I said, it could go through either an eye wall replacement cycle just before landfall that would knock it back to a Category 3, a low-end Category 3, or there's a chance that the system could just have structural problems here. So that's going to be a big issue with it as well. With Helene, it was moving so fast, it's not going to have a chance to gather itself for that one final push toward a Category 4 or whatever it may be, at landfall per se. Okay, so that's what we have going on here. So once again, stay safe. If you're out there, stay prepared. Make sure you have your flashlights, solar powered lights, solar powered generators, because you may lose power in the panhandle. The power outage zone is basically going to be from east of Tallahassee. Okay, so if you're in Lake City, if you're in Perry, if you're in Live Oak, if you're in southern Georgia, like Valdosta Lake Park, if you're back over towards Thomasville and Bainbridge and Blakely and Albany, that's where the power outages are going to be majority at, in southern Georgia and that northern Florida state line between them. And also, of course, Tallahassee, if some of the trees fall down, with some of these tropical storm force gusts, maybe possibly hurricane force gusts for a time. But all that should be subsiding by 4 a.m. in the morning, 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. From Tallahassee north, all that should be subsiding. We should just only be left with tropical storm force gusts. And in the morning, this thing will be gone well up into Georgia, because it's moving so fast here. So that's what we have going on with Helene. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe out there, and God bless.